DMV Hoop Session presents the 2024 Capital Hoops Summer League Preview Show.
And hello, I am Isaac Ajikum Harris here for the DMV Hoop Session, only on SASN TV, here with our my fellow colleague, Noah Schubert, and with a special preview of the Capital Hoops Summer League. We will be there, and we know the first week and a half has just started off, and we got to talk about what some of the notable storylines, players, and what's going in this year. Last year, Tenley Tigers upset Dematha at home to win the Capital Hoops Summer League with a glorious finish, ending Dematha's long winning streak of winning the Summer League. I wanted to say it was at least a 3-year streak, and ended it. But we have a lot going into the Summer League preview, so I'm going to take it away to Noah. What are we expecting this year? I know last year was a shocker, but this year should be fun.
Yeah, I mean, Dematha's always in it, and they came out as champs the previous 3 summer leagues. Then last year, the Tenley Tigers came in and took that away from them. But this year, we have a massive field of teams. It's the biggest field that we've ever seen for the summer league. We have 50 teams competing across Dematha and Annapolis area Christian, and so it should be a fantastic field. And I think that what's great about this year is that we are expanding outside of the DMV as well. We have teams coming in from Pennsylvania and West Virginia as well. And so I think that we just have so much more competition than previous years. We have teams from both the private and public level showing up for the first time in the Summer League. And I think that it's going to give an opportunity for a lot of unsung players to shine, and also some players coming off of stellar seasons and teams coming off of stellar seasons to continue what they were working on and figure out how to repeat success without their graduating senior class.
That is true, and I mean, like you said, the field is bigger. There's a lot more to expect. Can you name some of the notable players from that returning last year's field that are coming back that we can look for?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to start off with the champs, the Tenley Tigers. Jaden Fort, he's the leader of that team. Second team All-Met this season, averaged 11.5 points and 6.5 rebounds as Jackson Reed fell in the semifinals of the DC SAAA tournament. And he's going to come back and play exactly as he did last season. He was named the first team All-Summer League last year, averaged just about 17 points per game for the champion Tenley Tigers. JJ Massaquoi coming back for that team as well. And it's going to be hard to find somebody who's going to dethrone Tenley. They're coming back with a lot of the same strength that they had last season. And looking around at who could compete, I mean, I look at Bullis, Adrian Stevens, and Eric Reed, both coming off of fantastic seasons themselves. Adrian Stevens, first team All-Met, looking at a bunch of Division I offers, Maryland, Marquette, Villanova knocking on his door, and the big man, Eric Reed, in the middle, is offers from Michigan, Ohio State, Kansas, and Oregon, coming off of a summer where he played on Germany's U18 national team. And they're going to come back after falling in the semifinals last year. They're going to come back with a little bit of vengeance, and we know that coaching staff runs deep. We've talked with their players, their coaches, and I think that they're going to come back with a lot of fire and tenacity and show off some of that private school grit.
That's something that we've always noticed, and that you mentioned that private school grit. That the public schools. This is the opportunity for the public schools, both Maryland, DC, and Virginia, to go against those top private schools in the area that have Herald recruits. So that have such Herald recruits and even international experiences, just you just mentioned, which I think that just makes this summer league very, very ultra competitive in that way. So when adding on to that private school grit, is there any private school that, other than the Bullis, and obviously we see the MAC schools and the IAC schools that can stand out, is there anybody that can even possibly just sniff maybe Tenley or even Dematha if that we can anticipate to watch?
Well, McNamara has a fantastic 1-2 punch in Caden Samuels and Prince Alexander Moody. I mean, these are 2 players in the class of 26, the rising juniors, and they have a lot to prove. Caden Samuels, third team All-Met this past season, and McNamara, they were bounced out of the playoffs early in upset last season. I think that they have a team with a lot to prove, and they're going to come fighting. And there are specific players this season as well who are coming off of All-Met appearances. Malik Washington on Archbishop Spalding, 4th team All-Met. Amari Bryce Johnson, the Hornets, players from Fairmont Heights. Honorable mention All-Met. Evan Thompson from the Sherwood Academy, also an honorable mention All-Met. So you have individual players who are coming off of great seasons. who could potentially lead some teams who did not have the best of appearances or best of performances last season. And then they could really come into their own. And we're talking about all the rising seniors on those final three who, again, have something to prove, have something to show off, and really show why they were chosen for those all-Met honors.
That's awesome. And you mentioned that all these guys made all-Met, which is also a big it's a big deal. That's like an honor. If you make all-Met, essentially you could be one of the top players in the country even. And that's what we've seen and that's why this summer league is so deep, that you have all-Met players against players that haven't made their shine yet or haven't got that juice yet, especially that McManair team. They're young. They're going to be competitive. They're going to be a problem in the WCAC later to come, and this is the environment for them to develop and really show that, especially going into the live period and then going into the school year, that they can develop that chemistry now early. Now, we already mentioned some of the private schools that can potentially knock out Tenley. Who's a public school that you see, or any of those public school guys, players that you see that can potentially, become the next Tenley? Just kind of keep we don't have a same repeat or same refresher of the same private schools going in and out.
Well, I mean, Patriot is always competitive, and even though they lost Tay Barber in the offseason, I mean, they're a strong team. It's players who have experience at the highest level. I mean, they went to the VHSL Division Class 6 state championship game, lost to South Lakes. And so when you have a team of players that have that level of experience going that deep into the postseason, you can carry that even if it's guys who don't play as much. I mean, they have only one rising senior in Ethan Keku on their lineup, and the rest are all juniors, sophomores, and freshmen. Also, Jeremy Hanton, a rising senior. And when you look at teams like that, those are who you isolate as to who could show out for the public school, or the teams where, yes, they might have had one or two players that were stellar that graduated. You look at your Hayfields, for instance, they were able to go back-to-back, even though they had some of their best players graduate from that undefeated team a few years back, and they were able to win the championship again the previous season. And so when teams like Patriot, when you have players who are maybe waiting in the wings, or you don't know whether they'll be good or not, the Summer League is where that they can really shine and show that they do deserve a spot in the starting lineup, and show that Patriot could come back and be in that championship game once more.
That's true, and you and me both know, and you covered Patriot a little bit during their state championship run. Well, they didn't get to win it, but they lost to your alumni, South Lake Seahawks. We have to still shout out to them because they participated in the Summer League last year. Sherman Rivers, we know that he's going to run a tight ship. We know that we're going to see a Patriot team that is next man up mentality, and that's interesting that you brought that up, that they are going to be an interesting team to watch. And I know that they're not the only public school from Northern Virginia that is taking their trip across the river throughout the Summer League, throughout these 6 weeks. W.T. Woodson is also taking the trip. South County is taking a first-time trip in a long time back into the Summer League. And I believe for the first time ever, we see Yorktown making the quick trip to Madison Street for the first time ever, representing Arlington Public Schools, going there. And I'm actually kind of interested to see how they do. I know that they're playing against all the other public schools that they usually don't play against in Maryland, such as like the Brook or Goodfellas and Oxon Hill, and also seeing guys like Tenley. How do you think with these other teams, some new summer teams, private and public, and including our teams that are outside the area coming in, such as like Chambersburg and also Spring Hill coming from West Virginia from the Eastern Panhandle, where do you see these new public school teams kind of filling out, or how they're going to stand out with this deep competition into this league?
Well, I mean, Yorktown is stacked with experience. They have 8 rising seniors in their lineup, and they back it up with 4 rising juniors and 3 rising sophomores. But those 8 current juniors and soon-to-be seniors, that's huge. When you talk about experience, you talk about the teams where the experience is what drives, and you have the maturity and the basketball IQ of the class of 2025 now. It really does pay dividends. Tenley last season, they had a lot of experience. Dematha is consistently refreshing their players. I love Dematha this year. Ace Meeks and Jacob Wallace, that 1-2 guard tandem, they're back, and they're coming back with a lot of vengeance. And they had a chance to win at the buzzer pretty much against Tenley last season. I believe Jacob Wallace missed a 3-pointer to give Dematha the lead with only a few seconds left. And when you're the host, and Dematha's graciously been hosting for several years now. There's a lot of pressure on you, and so kind of on a tangent there, but getting back to the public schools, it's the experience of being able to having played a lot of basketball, and that's why I love Yorktown, and I love the depth of their lineup. Brendan Pilot, 6'3" guard. You look at Nick Sankis, a 6'1" guard, and they have a lot of great guard play in that rising senior class. And I think that as a team that haven't really gotten to show themselves in the summer league, they're going to come out fighting.
That's good, and that reminds me of a team last year that kind of came out fighting a little bit, kind of shocked us a little bit. Whitman, and they actually showed that into their state title run this past year, that they made a really deep run in the state playoffs. Whitman came out fighting a little bit, scrapping last year with a couple of the other public schools against the other private schools, and it worked out to benefit further into the school year. Now, we got to wrap this up a little bit, Noah, and we got to get our predictions in. Before I give you my prediction on how the summer league's going to go, and we'll be there covering, and maybe we may be wrong. Noah, what do you think's going to happen? What do you think's going to be the end result?
Man, I mean, it's hard to ride with anybody but Dematha. I mean, they've lost some talent. I mean, Malcolm Thomas obviously leaving the program, but they bring a lot back. As I mentioned, Ace Meeks, Jacob Wallace, Cade Sebastian is a fantastic forward for Dematha, and then he had the game-time shot that sent the game to overtime. And I think that they have players that are going to step up that didn't really get a chance. Jeremiah Boyer, I'm looking at, Charles Thomas, or Caden Moulton, guys who I'm looking at who are going to get their time to shine. But I think that when the dust settles, all said and done, I think I'm going to go with Bullis for my pick as to win the Summer League this year. Eric Reed and then Adrian Stevens, that 1-2 duo is going to be electric. And yes, they might have lost Tyler Boston, but I think they're going to make up with a lot of talent. Aki Pham is going to get some time to shine. Darren Moore, a couple of guards who are behind Boston in the lineup. So I'm going to go with a little bit of a sleeper pick, and I'm going to take Bullis to take it all this year.
That's interesting that you said Bullis. So I love that we're going with a different private. We're going to get some IAC representation to possibly win this thing. I want to say I got two. I want to go with the little Cinderella story maybe, and maybe see something just based off the standings, what we're seeing. But obviously the early standings of this week can't really too much. Some people are 2-0. Some people even haven't played yet. So I want to give Bullis that benefit of the doubt that maybe they get it done this year. They kind of finally get over the hump of, them and Georgetown Prep always trying to fight for survival on who gets there and who gets through that semifinal to either face Dematha or one of the best or one of the other schools that's in here. So I'm going to give it to Bullis. Like you said, they return, although they're losing Tyler Boston, great coaching. That they're one of the best. They proved this year that they're one of the best teams in the nation. And a running joke that I've always heard about Bullis is they play like a public school. Like they play like a public school with nothing to lose, and that's not it's not like an injunction. It's actually to the testament of who they are. You can't tell they play like guys that have nothing to lose. So I'm hoping Bullis maybe at the end, but I'm gonna give maybe Tenley. I want to give a little love to maybe Tenley might repeat. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe Tenley might surprise us, and Tenley Jackson Reed might just repeat just a little bit. They might repeat. Who knows? Well, those are my top two for now, and then also a little Cinderella story. Maybe I want to give a little love to Woodson. Woodson's returning. WT Woodson is returning a little bit. So CG Woodson, the Cavaliers. So they're returning a little bit, a couple guys, but who knows? I think it's all up in the air right now. With how competitive this field is, 50 teams, it could go any way. So Noah Schubert, thank you again for joining me, my lovely colleague, and joining us on DMV Hoop Session for SASN TV, and we will be at the game starting hopefully very soon, and we'll be definitely covering the playoffs when they do start. So I'm Isaac Harris here with DMV Hoop Session for SASN TV, and I'm here with Noah Schubert, and we're signing off, and we'll see you at the Summer League.
DMV Hoop Session at the Capital Hoop Summer League, providing the best high school basketball in the DMV.